Hey, how's it going, everyone? Justin again, as always. Thanks for watching my channel. Welcome back. This is the 4.7 Stroker Build Series, episode 4, where today we're going to be removing the harmonic balancer, the timing cover. I'm going to show you how to measure chain slop in your 4-liter prior to removing the double roller set from the cam and the crank. We'll also be pulling off the hydraulic lifters from the top half of the engine. Granted, it might be easier to do it while the engine's upside down and you have it on a stand, but in most cases, if you have to do a cam swap in the car without pulling the engine, you will run into the situation where you'll have to pull the lifters from the top. And I'll show you how to do that with even the smallest magnet. It can be frustrating, but we can get it done, so that's what our plan is for today. I hope you are enjoying the content so far. If you are, make sure to hit the thumbs up if you liked the video at the end of it, or the thumbs down if you did not like the video. Thanks as always for watching. Let's get back to building. Alright, hopefully you guys can see this somewhat. If you can't, revert back to either episode 2 or 3 where I actually show you how the lifters are set up all throughout this valley here. But down into each one of these areas is going to be the hydraulic lifter, and it sets down and on top of the cam. And then the push rod comes through here and then rests down on the lifter. Sorry, I'm trying to use the magnet as a pointer and it's sticking to everything. So I wasn't sure I was going to be able to do this with this tiny little magnet, so I gave it an attempt earlier this morning and I actually was able to get it. It can be frustrating if you don't have a 5-pound magnet, so if you don't have one, I'd recommend getting one. I just don't happen to have one on hand at the moment, so we're going to be using this little one. And then remember, if you're trying to keep these in order and reuse them, we had to start back here. This was the exhaust, then we have intake, exhaust, and so forth all the way up to the front. And you can keep those in order in your organizer, or however you want to keep them organized, so that way, in case you do plan on reusing the lifters again, you know where you took them out and you can put them all back. So that being said, I'm going to fish down in here and I'm going to grab one out just to show you it can be done with a light duty magnet like I have here in my hand. Alright, let's go down in here, and you want to be a little aggressive with it. Come on, baby. Of course, this magnet wants to stick to every single thing down there, which is why I'm trying to keep it straight when I first latch on. And I'll get it up towards the top, get it kind of lifted, and then try to yank it. Oh yeah, come on, man. Let's get it. Come on, come on. You can do it. You're so close. So there we go. Well, that went a lot faster than the first one, I tell you. But anyways, this is going to be our intake lifter for cylinder number 6. So I'm going to go put this in our tray. Be careful not to drop it, of course. And then I'll go ahead and I'll personally go through and remove all these, and then we'll get going on how to remove the harmonic balancer, and then we'll start pulling the timing cover. Alright, now that we got all of our hydraulic lifters out from the top, we can now turn to our timing cover area and our harmonic balancer, and we'll get this water pump off. Alright, I apologize for some of the low level lighting. Just saying, it's really cold and all the wind is blowing through the front of the garage, so I can't open the garage door. So we're going to try to do our best using the best amount of light that I possibly have in here. Alright, that being said, looking at our harmonic balancer here, you can see that we have just a lot of grease, dirt, and grime buildup through all the little holes that we're going to need to utilize for the harmonic balance puller. We also have a 19mm or 3/4 inch. You can see this is a SAE bolt. It's got the dashes here for the grade 8 bolt that it has. However, the tolerance difference between 19 millimeter and 3/4 of an inch are pretty much identical. You can go onto Google and Google it yourself if you don't believe me. As for the internal threads here, we should be looking at 8 millimeter by 125. So we're going to use our tap and die kit, because I don't have the rethread kit here, to find the one that we're going to need. Now this is a little bit more of a high-end kit. Some of you guys might be using something that has more of a T-handle setup like this. This will be for the die, so if we were rethreading bolts, that's what we would be, rethreading or re-dyeing the bolts, we would be using that tool. But because we're going to be chasing threads, pretty much we're going to use an adapter like this and a 3/8 ratchet on the back side of it to run it through. So we're going to do that. Another little ip that I just noticed, but maybe it's not so much an issue, is in our Harbor Freight Harmonic balance puller kit, if I can get it open, is that it does come with a very large assortment of nuts and bolts. A large assortment of bolts, as well as puller adapters and washers. The problem that I see is that a lot of these bolts are SAE. However, they might have metric thread pitch. So we're going to have to match up the thread pitch of this and see if it corresponds to any one of the bolts that we have here to use in our puller kit. So that's what we got ahead of us. Alright, so we are in luck. The kit does have the 8x125 bolts. Even though they do have the SAE lines on them, they have the metric pitch that we're looking for. So we're going to use this tap with this adapter to just chase a few threads. So we're going to come in here to the inside ones and start threading it in by hand. That just makes sure that we're threading it in straight. You don't want to use a tap and then get the wrong angle, and next thing you know, you're creating new threads. We don't want to do that. So we're going to run it in by hand first till we feel pretty confident and comfortable, and then we'll attach our ratchet and we'll just kind of chase the threads. We'll go in so much, and then remember to back it back out, because you want all that nasty grit to fall out, which I don't know, you probably can't see that, but we got a lot of rust and crud coming out. Now you can use a little can of WD-40 and just spray a little shot on there if they're real bad. But in this case, I think we're going to be just fine. So pop this back off. Again, we'll just retrace a few threads and we'll attach our ratchet. Now we can also use a blowgun, but it doesn't take very much effort. So we'll start it again for the last one. Again, that's 8mm by 125 is the pitch for the harmonic balancer on this 4-liter harmonic balance. Pulley. Okay, we'll back that back out. All right, now we need to remove the harmonic balance bolt itself. I do have this cordless rigid 1/2 inch impact gun with a shallow 19mm 6-point socket. The reason why I grabbed shallow is to get the maximum amount of torque possible out of this tool. You could also use a breaker bar, and you can find a spot in between the pulley itself and trap it between the timing cover to crack it loose by hand if that's what you should desire. If your air compressor is strong enough, you could use an air pneumatic 1/2-inch impact and just hit it real quick. But in this case, we're going to try our luck with the cordless rigid. Lots of gummies in there. Alright, now we can set our bolt to the side. We need to find the appropriate adapter. And I think this one right here, the biggest cone one, is the one we're going to use. We will then get our piece of thread, which is already lubricated. Thank you, Harbor Freight. Just going to tell you guys, if the threads are not already lubricated, to make sure you lubricate them, whether it's with WD-40 or some kind of oil of some kind. So you can put that on there, but we want to do that after we start it in the actual removal tool itself first. So we'll start threading this in. Like so, just kind of get it started. We'll get all 3 of these bolts that we need. We're gonna have to set this up. Something like this. We're gonna have to back this in a little bit more to get as close as we can to start these first. We'll need washers. What am I doing? We need washers first. So that way it's got something to brace itself on the tool itself. We'll just shake a few out. 1, 2, and 3. All right. We're just going to run them in by hand. You don't got to get too crazy. Might go a little tighter with that one. You want to try to keep them as even as you can, so that way it's got a nice even pull. Let me get a ratchet wrench. We'll be right back. Alright, so now that we have this all set up, like I said, just try to keep these as even as you possibly can for the most part. Then kind of snug it in by hand. And then we'll be tightening the removal tool bolt here, and it's a 14mm for this Harbor Freight puller kit. You can also do this by hand again, not a big deal. I just try to do things a little bit faster, so we're going to use this. Actually, let me spray a little bit of WD-40 down and around the harmonic balancer, just so it can get that oil penetrated in there. Just going to hit it like so. Maybe try to see if I can't get it all on the back side. All right. Just like that, she's off. Not bad, Harbor Freight. Not bad. I'm going to chalk that up as a one for the win for Harbor Freight. Alright, so now we have some bolts to look at here on our timing cover. We've got 10mm here, 10mm there. And then we're going to have a couple underneath on the oil pan side. Those are also 10s. This one up here is going to be a 16. The ones that you see missing went to the AC and alternator bracket, which is off, of course. So we won't worry about those. So in case you're wondering why these holes were empty, it was because the lower one was for the alternator and the upper one was for the AC compressor. So not a big deal. We can now get the tools we need to remove the timing cover, and we'll see what's behind it. Okay, I got what we needed pre-set up. So again, 16mm there, 10mm around the timing cover area, and I think the two bottom oil pan bolts are going to be 11, same as the valve cover. Now, in order to stay organized, it doesn't help to have something like this. You can pick this up in any fishing section of your local Walmart or hobby section of your local Walmart. It just helps to stay organized. I've got one for small block Chevy, I've got one for a big block Ford, and now I'm going to have our first one for the 4-liter, which is awesome. It's always awesome to have those kind of things on hand, because even though we're going to be replacing most of the hardware on this engine build, it's always nice to have extra, even for future jobs, especially if you plan on working on the same exact domestic platform that I am. So let's go ahead and start ripping and tearing on the timing cover, and then see what's going on behind it. I'm going to take the first one, is going to be, first one I'm taking out is going to be this 16 up here. Oh, that thing's nasty. I'm just going to drop that into our little area. Let me get our 10mm. And yes, I am loving this gun so far. It seems to work out just fine. Especially, I love the light on it. So I'll set that down over here on my leg. It's always funny when you start taking something apart, you can see where people actually had their oil leaks. But I like using a flashlight on it too to determine where the rest of the bolts are. Now we'll use the 11mm to take the lower oil pan bolts off. We might even have to take the 13s off, but we'll see. Let's just start with the 11s first. Alright, so now we got that removed, we should be able to either gently pry or lightly tap the timing cover and get it to remove. So let me grab a little hammer and a little pry bar. Alright, so I got ourselves our little tiny pry bar and our little trusty hammer. So I'm just going to try to find a spot in here. See if I can't gently pry it forward first. Find a good spot here. Come back up to this water pump. Just kind of gently pry it back. Give ourselves a little room. This thing's going to be on there pretty good, so. Let's go to the side here. Really gonna need to try to pry it up too, I think. Don't want to bend it too much. It's coming slowly but surely. Let's see here. Let's come to this side now. Jump across. Okay. Oh yeah, it's coming. Just got to kind of work it back and forth. Now we're more or less caught up in here. Ah, that's why you got to be gentle. Looks like someone forgot. I forgot two more oil pan bolts. bet it comes right off now. There we go. Right in the middle. Oh yeah, look at all the movement now. It's a good thing I wasn't prying very hard. Alright, here we go. Ugh, it's nasty stuff right there. Alright. We've now exposed ourselves to the timing chain. So now we get ready to take this apart. However, there's a couple things we're going to check in the process. If this was just a timing cover reseal, at this point in time, you might as well measure the slop in the chain. So we're going to look up some specs. Just by feel, I can tell that's probably already too much. But we're going to check the spec. We're going to get our machinist ruler, and we're going to see how much play we actually have in it, or deflection, however you want to look at it. Also keep in mind, there's this little tiny timing / cam detent deal right here. And I'll show you that up close in a minute, that we have to remove. That just, it helps to keep the cam from walking out should the cam bolt ever come loose. There's a little internal spring behind that, and it just kind of pushes against the timing cover. So we're going to have to remove that too and keep that in a safe place, because when we go to replace the timing chain, we're going to have to put that back in. So let me get our measuring tools and let me get the book. We'll figure out what the spec is and we'll go from there. Alright, I thought I'd try to get us a little bit better lighting so that way you can see what's going on here. Right now we're trying to measure the timing chain deflection to see how much movement's actually in it. Now, in our trusty little Haynes manual here, it says that the difference, okay, so if the deflection exceeds a ½ inch, replace the timing chain and sprockets. So that's what we're looking for. So with my machinist ruler, and you can use a tape measure or whatever suits you. I just so happen to have this, and I've had it for a long time, and I've always used it for small things like this. What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to run perpendicular across the chain as loose as it is. Hopefully you guys can see that. So my ½ inch is going to be roughly just barely above or right at where the chain length, chain width is of the link. So the chain link width is roughly about ½ inch. So if you don't have a ruler and it seems the chain is moving more than the width of the actual link itself, it's too much. So right now we're just gonna, again, I'm going to make sure that I'm from link to link, I'm straight across and perpendicular, and I'm just going to push the chain in with my finger. And we're about 1/16 away from ½ inch. So real close. To me, I mean, obviously we're already doing a build, so we want to put a new double roller on it anyways. But to me, this should be replaced. With it being almost a ½ inch as it is, and we're only 1/16 away, and you're already in it like this, you might as well go ahead and change it out. So hopefully that explains that. Also, this other piece here that I may have misworded is known as the thrust pin and spring. So we need to remove the thrust pin and spring. You could do so with a little tiny magnet. Don't lose it. This is the thrust pin. And basically that just walks, if it walks back and forth, it just lightly pushes against the timing cover, keeps it all happy. So we're gonna keep that in our little fishing tray. And I'm gonna see if I can't pull the spring out this way. I might have to go get a little pick. And I will. So let me go get a little pick first. Alright, so just got a little cheap Harbor Freight pick here. The little wonky little pattern. I'm going to look down to the bore. I'm going to just kind of slide it back out my way. And pull the spring out. So there's the spring. So those two items can now be saved. This more than likely is going to be a 19mm as well. So we'll use the ½ inch impact to remove that. And then we'll remove our chain set. We'll also probably want to pull the keyway here and put that in our little organization deal. You can see that's got a bunch of gum around it. So I'll try to see if I can't just pull this out, but I may have to get a small chisel and just lightly tap it up to get it to lift off the crankshaft so we can pull the sleeve off. So let me grab a couple tools and we'll get after it. Alright, so I just got a little chisel, cobalt chisel. I don't know that it's a cold chisel, but it's got a little cobalt chisel. I'm just going to try to go straight on with it. Let's see if I can't bump that little keyway off of there. You can see it's already starting to lift up. I haven't done any damage to the crank. It's still on there pretty good. So we're just going to kind of keep gently working it. Now it's almost completely lifted up. So now we can save that in our little fishing tackle box. Little tiny half moon. So you want to save that too. We'll put that with the thrust. And then what's the next thing now? We're going to pull the sleeve off here. Like so. And see, we could have pulled the sleeve off if we had that lined up, but it's whatever. We were getting ready to pull everything. We want to get this thing ready to go. So now we'll go ahead and we'll remove our cam bolt. That's all nice and removed. You can see right here on this cam bolt, it's not a through. It's just in case the cam bolt starts to walk out, it pushes against the timing cover and keeps it in place. Other side's completely solid, just in case you guys were wondering. Alright, now we can go ahead and remove our timing gear. Work it back and forth a little. Hang on. Just kind of, yeah, look at all that grease that's coming off. Kind of work it back and forth like so. And now we got the roller off. I don't know if you guys can see this or not. Hopefully you can. There's a little tiny dot right here on the camshaft sprocket. There's going to be another one here on our crankshaft sprocket. So when this is together, you're going to want those two dots basically dot to dot. And that's basically lining up your timing. So let me try to see if I can't do that in here. So it'll look something like that, where it's dot to dot. And that just shows that you're on top dead center. Don't worry too much about this cam sprocket because it has a little lineup pin here. You can't get it wrong. One way fits all. Same thing with the crank sprocket. It's got that secondary keeper in there, which you'll also remove if you're having any work done to the crank. So we can set that off to the side for now. Kill. Kill, 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 kill. Nice and clean-ish, right? Alright, so I think that'll pretty much wrap up episode 4. Look, I hope you guys are enjoying the content so far. Make sure you stay tuned for episode 5, because in episode 5 I plan on taking off the oil pan, showing you how to remove the pistons, and fun things like that. We'll also take off the rest of the accessories on the block, check the block, we'll punch out freeze plugs, and we'll just start getting this thing ready to go to the machine shop. But that's all I got for this video, guys. Look, I know that it seems like these segments are a little bit long, but this is a long process, and I don't want to miss anything, and I want to make sure that I'm telling you guys the way that I'm looking at something as I'm taking it apart, and things to think about forward thinking wise. Or if there's a particular situation that you might run into where this engine is still in your car and you're looking to change something out, I want to make sure you get all the information you possibly can while we have full means and access and capability of being able to show and tell and talk about it.
So that's all I got for this video, guys. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, give it a thumbs down. Leave a comment, and we'll see you guys next time. Deuces.